Well, hey there, and welcome. It's Monday Mastery, and it's 6 o'clock Central Standard Time, and I'd like to welcome you all to today's episode. And today is Monday, May 9th. We're getting to be almost halfway through the year. Hey, Bernard, welcome and glad you're here. And Bernard's already diving into the conversation, and let's see. Let me just put this up real quick. Bernard says because of the work schedule in EMS, a lot of EMTs marry other EMTs or nurses, and that's our conversation today. Hey, Teresa, glad you're here. Addie, welcome and thank you. And today's conversation is about would you would you date a coworker? And obviously, Bernard has made comment that in his profession that a lot of EMTs marry each other or date each other. Hey, Don, thanks for joining in. Glad you're here. Good to see you. And so there are a lot of opportunities to meet and to date and to connect with others. Because we spend, most of us spend at least 40 hours a week with other people. You know, unless you're someone like me that's a solopreneur, an entrepreneur that works at home by himself, then it can be a little difficult sometimes to date someone at work. Uh, Teresa says, I don't think I would. Hey, Marcia, thanks for joining in. Glad you're here. It has a lot, and I understand, Teresa. It has a lot of pitfalls. There's a lot of landmines that go along with dating somebody at work or being in a romantic relationship with somebody at work. And hopefully we're all at a point where we're not going to be, we're all divorced or widowed or single and never been married, and the other person is the same. That's one of the pitfalls or one of the landmines, I guess, is the potential that the other partner at work could be married, and we want to avoid that at all costs. Hey, Paul, thanks for joining in. I hope you got my email last night. Sorry it took so long, but it was the weekend, and I tried to take a little bit of time off. And anyway, I hope my response was helpful to you. Addie says, "Hey, Addie, before when I worked in the office, I'd say no. Um, I don't shit where I eat usually. Now I work from home, and so it wouldn't matter." Let's see. And hey, Lindy, thanks for joining in. Um, and Teresa says, "I think it would be hard if other women would flirt or take an interest." That's a great point, Teresa. Um, and the reason I brought this topic up today is because this is one of the subjects that I'm broaching in my new course coming up at the end of the month, and it's called Dating Made Simple. I'll give a little quick plug here for it, but it's what I've discovered in doing some deeper research is, and even in my book 6 or 7 years ago, we talked about dating in the workplace and the landmines. But what I've discovered is, and there's been some research, there was a study done, I think it was last year, or it was published last year, about a year ago, and the the study showed that about one third or 34% of relationships start in the workplace. That's parallel. Hey, Shar, thanks for joining in. And so that rivals online dating because approximately one third of relationships start online. So between those two sources, you have two-thirds of where all relationships start. Now, they don't all lead to marriage, but they are places that they start. And so consequently, let's see, like Bernard had mentioned I'm assuming, Bernard, you're an EMT, and that's where that's where a lot of your relationships start, because you spend so much time together. And actually, Bernard says when you are 24 on, 24 on call, and 24 off, little time to meet others. And that's a great point. And there are other professions like that also that are very demanding. Fire, police. And Shar says, great if it works, but complicated if it ends badly and you're still working together. Absolutely. Bernard says he's a retiree, so he's out of that business now. But that's right, Shar. It's absolutely, there are so many landmines. Most companies have a strict policy of not dating somebody you work with. But that being said, they can't control what you do in your off time. What you have to be aware that if you get caught, you could potentially lose your job. You could potentially be demoted. But again, a large percentage of people start dating there. Hey, Lonnie, thanks for joining in. And Lonnie says, I married my coworker in 2007. Dating a coworker is good. We were married until her death in 2012. I'm so sorry. So yeah, so we've got both sides of the coin there. Addie says she absolutely wouldn't. Teresa says she would. Bernard says it's very common in his former profession. And Lonnie says he did. So, and let's see, Addie is, I know many places won't allow salary to date hourly folks within companies. Absolutely. And that brings up another one of the landmines is, or the hurdles is, companies typically look at these situations from a legal standpoint, and they see sexual harassment, especially if a supervisor is dating one of his reports, and it just becomes it becomes a nightmare. Doesn't mean it can't be done. And Lonnie says, I'm single now, taking applications. Send pictures of your boats. LOL. Exactly. There's an old joke that would go around, and I'm sure it's been everywhere in the South and the Midwest, but it's talking about. It talks about, and I'm going to tell this poorly. I'm just going to give you the thumbnail sketch. Is that, and guys looking for a bride, and he says, and the gal responds and says, I've got a pickup truck, I've got a dog, and da 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 da. And the guy responds and says, send picture of the dog. And it's just so I'm sorry, I don't know how I got off on that one. Oh, the applications, yeah. So anyway, but there's again, there's a lot of opportunities, and again, it depends on where you work. If you're working from home, some of the opportunities may not be so great. The other thing to think about is it doesn't necessarily, dating at work or meeting somebody through work doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to date a coworker. It could mean that you meet somebody that's a vendor, a supplier, or even a customer. There are a lot of different possibilities there. You may, sometimes vendors or suppliers come in and do work around around your office or around the plant that you work in, and there can be some connections developed there. So and while some of you are saying absolutely not, never, no way, no how, there, again, you have to take a look at, what are the possibilities, and again, you have to take your company policy into account. But if the numbers are correct in that study, that's a third of the possibilities of most of the possibilities, or the possibilities for most people, in meeting somebody. You spend 8 hours a day, maybe sometimes more, sometimes less, but that's a bulk. That's 1/3 of your day, and that's where the biggest part of your social life is, or your socializing is, because you talk to people, whether they're your boss, whether they're coworkers, whether they're vendors, suppliers, customers. This is where a lot of social interaction happens. And I'm not trying to promote dating at work. Don't misunderstand me. If something like that happens, and it does, my ex-wife and I were already dating, but we worked together in a couple of different situations. We worked together for my family business for a couple of years, and we worked together in when I was a financial advisor. She worked as the division secretary, and I was an advisor, and then she actually came to work for me. So it can be done. Hey Sheila, thanks for joining in. Sheila says I would date a coworker, and so we're coming in on about a 50-50 split here. And so there are a lot of possibilities. When you date a coworker, there's the possibility of you can develop a lot of animosity even once you're married. And I know that happened with my ex and I. Our communication broke down, and we were spending literally almost 23 hours a day together. So that's another thing to consider, is that, if you date somebody from work, not only are you spending that 8 hours with them or in their proximity, you're spending another 8 to 10 to 12 hours with them outside of work. And so that can create some significant problems. And Bernard, maybe you can enlighten some folks on your experience with and I don't know if you've personally dated somebody that you worked with or married somebody that you worked with, but what are some of the pitfalls, or some of the positives that you saw? If they're dating, how did the relationships go when they spend that much time together? Lonnie says, I met a really sweet girl recently. She has spent some time in jail for a drug offense, but is sober now. She's clean and in a different spot now. I used to be a drunk, so how can I judge that? Is it okay to give someone a chance that's really trying? Lonnie, I absolutely think so. I think from your particular perspective, since you were an alcoholic, and I know you've celebrated a recent anniversary here of being sober, I think that you'd have to walk a careful line with this girl, and just as she has to walk with you, because both of you are susceptible to the addictions. And it can be it can be great from the standpoint that you can be supportive of each other. What the other one's going through, or what some of the addiction is like. Excuse me. And be their rock, as she could be your rock, and be your support system. But the flip side is that if either one of you slips, it can really create a nightmare. So there's a fine line. Only you can tell, Lonnie, whether it's going to be a good fit or not. You have to watch her actions just as she has to watch yours. So it's a but I think that there has to be a redeeming there have to be some redeeming qualities in both of you for the two of you to get together. Bernard says he's not dated anybody personally, but some worked. Some of the situations he saw worked, some didn't. And he also says you have to set guidelines. Yeah, and you're welcome, Lonnie. Yeah, and whenever you do get into a relationship at work, there do need to be guidelines. One of the things that you have to be careful of is flirting, being overly flirtatious or spending too much time together. Even if you're equals and there's not a supervisor. A supervisory versus employee relationship, and you just have to you have to be careful of everything that you do. In most cases, I think that you have to keep as much of the relationship out of work as possible. And that includes stealing a kiss or holding hands at lunch or, whatever it is you do. Putting an arm around each other or, any other forms of PDA. Excuse me 1 second here. I've got a tickle in my throat and it's driving me crazy. Okay, muted that for a bit and see how that works. So those are just some of the minefields or some of the landmines that you can set off in dating somebody you work with. But again, the flip side is if it's somebody that if they turn out to be your soulmate, it can be great. If they're not, if it's just lust or infatuation, I can guarantee you there's going to be problems. And if the relationship comes apart, there are going to be problems in the workplace because people are going to take sides. People are going to talk and say, "Oh, he did her wrong, she did him wrong," and then you have a divided office and. Ownership or management can take a very, very dim view on that, and you may both end up out on your ear or looking for a new job. Addie says, I've worked with a couple that were dating at work. When the relationship went south, it was awful for all of the rest of us. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, Addie. Just a lot of awkward, sticky remarks. Absolutely. And and people start to they start to take sides, and it's I saw it in my divorce. Our friends took sides. Some of our friends went with my followed along with my ex-wife, and other friends stayed with me. So it was and the same thing is going to happen in an office situation or a work situation. And that can become divisive. So that's number one. If you are going to date somebody outside of or within your workplace, make sure that as much of it is kept outside of the office as possible. So there's minimal collateral damage in the workplace, and it's so hard sometimes because it's like social media. Since social media, you can show everybody everything, from who you're dating this week to the food you're having tonight for dinner, and it's just To me personally, it's just way too much information. And so that's, I always recommend our personal lives should remain personal. We all want our 15 minutes of fame. We all want to be in the spotlight from time to time. But, when it comes to a personal relationship, that needs to be kept off on the side. This needs to be kept, in my opinion, it needs to be kept private, because you get too many people wanting to get their fingers in the middle of that relationship and saying he did this, she did that, and all of the other stuff that goes along with relationships that can cause a great relationship to come apart. And the last thing you want to do is start getting sticky fingers or tongues wagging about your relationship and how it's right, how it's wrong, who's right for somebody and who's not right for somebody else. It's just it can create a huge mess. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, but keep it out of the workplace, in my opinion. Now, if you're a one man show, most people still don't know whether I'm dating or not, and that's the way I like to keep it. Let's just my personal life is my personal life, and my public life, here is fair game, I guess. And there were, when I took my hiatus, there were a couple of guesses that I was getting engaged or getting married, and yeah, none of that happened. So it was strictly a work thing. So the point here is, there are so many people that make assumptions. There's so many people that talk about others, and sadly, some people are just not happy unless they're stirring the pot. And that's not me. Just okay, you go do your thing, I'll do mine, and if you're gonna come to me and gossip, it's your gossip is gonna die here. When it hits my ears, it dies. It just, because I'm not passing it on. I don't play the game, and I'm hoping that those of you watching don't play that game either. When somebody comes to gossip or somebody comes to complain that somebody's dating so and so in the office, and just say, okay, that's between them. And if you want to report it to HR, if you want to report it to the management, and that's why I started to say earlier is, if you decide to date, before you get too serious about it, take it to the human resources, take it to the boss, take it to the owner, or the manager, whoever you report to, and let them know that this is potentially what's going to happen. That you have feelings for somebody, and you want to explore the problems, or explore the possibilities, I should say. Bernard says, work problems can become personal problems in the workplace. Absolutely. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Bernard. And the it makes life difficult for everybody, especially if the couple doesn't get along. Now, again, the odds are very high that some or all of you will do it at some point, or will meet somebody at work, and but there's that potential, because that's 1/3 of where relationships start. And please don't misunderstand me from my conversation tonight. I'm not trying to condemn the possibility of dating at work. I am not at all. I am trying to bring a realistic picture to the table, saying, okay, if you guys are feeling that strongly about dating, or about dating somebody at work, then these are some of the things you have to pay attention to. There are going to be jealousies, and ladies, you're going to get hit hardest with some of the jealousies and some of the gossip. The same study that shows that about 34% of U.S. workers will end up dating somebody they work with. also shows that the ladies date within the office are going to run into a lot more rumor and innuendo. The talk is going to be, well, she's just sleeping her way to the top, and it's not fair. But it is part of the equation that you have to think about, and if they don't know you, then there. I had a comment that I just won't. They're talking out their butts is the way I'll say it. And Teresa says, well, also with PDA, and that's what I was mentioning a little bit earlier. PDA can be a huge issue and can make a lot of people uncomfortable. Sorry, I would be scared of being honest, she says. And Addie says, yeah, don't really care to see the PDA at work, even if they're married. Exactly. And that even when I was dating my future wife and we were working together in my family business, I had one woman quit because she thought she viewed me as favoring my girlfriend at the time, and she just walked out. She thought that my girlfriend was getting easier jobs than everybody else, when in fact she wasn't. She was circulating through all the job positions that the women could do, because it was a food processing facility, and there were some jobs that were just so physically demanding that only the guys could do it. But all of the other stuff she was doing, but there was one woman that just had her mindset that my girlfriend wasn't pulling her weight, and she just got mad and left. So and so there's all of those possibilities, and it can, if you're dating somebody that you work with, you can unintentionally be making it so uncomfortable for everybody else that people might leave on account of you, or you and the person you're dating. So, and again, I don't want to completely condemn everything that might be going on between you two at work or outside of work, but you just have to be so careful that most people wouldn't even know unless they saw you outside of work. Hey, Cheryl or Crystal, thanks for joining in. Glad to see you're here. So you just have to walk or tread lightly so that you don't ruffle too many feathers in the workplace. That includes management. And if you do it, if you date somebody at work and you don't tell them, you are setting yourself up for at least one of you to lose your job, maybe both of you. And you have to take that into consideration. And and every business is different. Some smaller businesses, they may not be able to afford to lose both of you, so only one would lose their job. But hey, Susan, thanks for joining in. Glad you're here. And so there are just so many things that can go wrong. So you just have to be very, very, very careful if you decide to start dating somebody at work. And I'm just trying to, looks like I'm caught up on everything here. So, now some of the positives, if depending on what the job is, if you work in the same office, you can carpool together. You can go to lunch together. Typically, depending on the situation, you can you get home, or leave the office about the same time usually, and so there are some great opportunities. And let let me grab this one real quick. Crystal says, I met my late husband at work. He was a manager, but I did not work in his department. Everyone supported us as a couple. Awesome. See, and that's what I'm trying to portray here, is that in spite of the fact of all of the landmines that I'm sharing with you guys, there are some great stories. Crystal is one of them. That everybody was supportive, and they worked in different departments. So there wasn't, if something had gone wrong, you weren't going to decimate the department that you lived in. And again, or that you worked in. And again, it depends on the company that you work for. Big companies, it's easier to work in different departments or be transferred from one department to another if it's a big enough company, and you see that you want to develop a relationship or explore a relationship. You can go to HR and say, hey, this is what we want to do, and can we move to different departments if you're working in the same division or same department, and see if you can make arrangements that way. But don't try to, when it comes to management, don't try to slight them or try to go around the system, because that's when you really can get into trouble. And again, besides them, they're the only ones that have to know. The office doesn't have to know. Again, like I said, I'm just sharing from my personal experience that I like to keep this stuff private. And hey, Nancy, thanks for joining in. Glad to see you're here. And so it's some people are a little more open to sharing what's going on in their lives. They want to share their happiness, their joy. But I have a dear friend that she's been divorced, I think, about a year, and she's gone through 3 boyfriends already, approximately. I'm just guessing here. And it's all over social media. I mean, when she falls in love, and it's, oh my God, I found the right one, and yada yada yada, and pictures, and then everyone I just had to stop following her because I couldn't stand it. And now all of a sudden I see through one of her business posts that she's on her own again. So, that's why I think all of this stuff needs to be kept very low key. Keep it to yourself. When you get married, great. Let everybody know that you're in love and move on from there. And I guess maybe it's because I'm older and I've grown up in an era when and in a family where you kept a lot of stuff quiet. You just didn't share everything that was going on in your life. And so maybe it's me, maybe it's maybe it's the way I was raised, but there's just so many things I think you keep private until you know for sure. And relationships are that way. If you can't date for keep it quiet for 6 months, just to see, because so many relationships start and fizzle out in the first few months, rather than be all gushy about it and then have to say, oh crap, here we go. It ended terribly. Start out keeping as the old gambling adage goes, keep your cards close to your vest. And and then play your cards as life goes on, but to make a big deal out of your relationship even before it's had a chance to for the two of you to come out of the infatuation stage. It's really tough, and the same thing happens at work. We're all infatuated with somebody new. Oh, it's a new relationship. Oh, he's neat and smooth and cool and fine in all respects. Oh, isn't she cute? Doesn't she do the neatest things? And oh, she's just so sweet to me. And then 6 months later, a year later, it's like, oh, all hell breaks loose. And And then you're left picking up pieces and looking at the relationship and what was I thinking? How could I have missed this? Well, it's infatuation and raging hormones that blind us to what's going on around us. And family and friends might warn us and say, hey, yeah, I don't think she's quite the one for you, or I don't think he's the one for you. But we ignore it because we know better. We're the ones spending time with him. You just haven't spent any time with him. I know her so much better. I know him so much better. Nancy says, if it's the right relationship, there will be plenty of time to put on social media. Absolutely. I totally agree. And that's you're making my point, Nancy. And and if it's the wrong one, then it doesn't need to be splattered all over all over social media. And in this case, if we're talking about The Office, it doesn't need to be the common fodder of the break room or the water fountain, the water cooler, or the water cooler talk. It's just you set yourself up to be the target of abuse. And if you do this too often. Now, that's not to say that relationships do crumble, marriages do come apart, but they shouldn't be the conversation of the water cooler. They shouldn't be the topic of the day at work. By keeping things close to your chest or close to your vest, however, whatever the saying is. You eliminate a lot of the drama in your life. Now, there are a lot of people that have to play that drama card every time they get into a relationship. And it's like I was just pointing out, a friend of mine, she plays that, oh, look at me, those look at me cards, and look at how happy I am. And then all of a sudden the drama card comes out and said, oh, he's so terrible, and he's this and he's that. And then then it's all over. I'm alone. I can do it alone, and I can guarantee you, until she breaks that cycle, until she learns to recover from her divorces, and there are divorces, plural, and then look at these relationships. She's going to continue to go through that repeat cycle, that roller coaster cycle that so many people get on because they don't take the time to heal and grieve the loss of one relationship before they dive into the next one. So anyway, I hope this is helpful for some of you. I hope this is of interest to a lot of you. It's a subject that just kind of came up again because I was doing some research for my course that will be coming out at the end of the month. That's about 80% complete, and no, it's not 80% complete. It's about 95% of the writing is done, and later this week I'll start recording. And for those of you that did sign up to be beta testers, I will be letting you know later this week. Hopefully Thursday, I'll be able to open that up and let you guys sign up and sign in, and you'll have to wait a couple of weeks until the course officially is uploaded into the system. But for any of those of you that are listening tonight or watching tonight that weren't here last week, I'll give you a quick update. The reason I took actually, it's almost 2.5 months off. I originally planned to take a 30-day hiatus from all social media just so I could focus on creating my course. I'm in the process of creating a course on dating called Dating Made Simple. And let me just do a quick plug here. And that's what you're going to see when you pull up the course, Dating Made Simple. And then there will be 5 modules, and each module is going to have 3 to 5 lessons in it, and each of those, and the whole purpose of the course is to help you move from a place of floundering or uncertainty in your dating life, and wondering, why is it taking so long, or what's going on, what are the mistakes, especially if you made if you tend to date the same type of person over and over and over again, and things just don't work out. So the idea is for you to move past that, learn why you're doing it, and how to move past that, and to start really seriously searching for your soulmate. And I believe that, and for a few of you that are widows on here tonight, I truly believe we have more than one soulmate. It's just a matter of which one you find next. And and people come to me and say, well, Rick, if I find one soulmate, shouldn't I keep looking for the others? No. If you found your soulmate, why would you keep looking? It doesn't mean that doesn't mean you have to keep looking, or that you're being so discerning that, well, what if there's a soulmate that's better? Well, if you found your soulmate, you've already found that the one that you want to spend the rest of your life with. So it's a unique proposition that takes you through a lot of the material that was in my book. I'll admit that, but there's also a lot of information that I've gained, and a lot of things that I've learned, and from you guys in our conversations. And I bring that to the table, and through my coaching over the last 8 years, and how best to help you just gain a clearer understanding of the dating process and all of the things that go in or that are involved with dating. And so consequently, last week I announced that this course is coming up. It should be available at the end of the month. And I'm looking for beta testers. And several of you have already signed up as beta testers. And what a beta tester is you guys get to be the first one that goes through the course. You get to work with me one-on-one each week for about 5 weeks, and each week we'll go through one module, and or you'll go through one module, then we'll review it. I'll answer your questions, your dating and relationship questions, and then you'll give me feedback on, say, hey, was this, how was this module? How were the lessons for you? And then at the end, hopefully you're going to write this glowing testimonial saying, oh, Rick, this was awesome. It helped me in so many ways. And anyway, hopefully. And so the idea is to participate if you have the time, and we'll do a Zoom call once a week, and we haven't discussed a date. When we get together, and I'm just looking for another. Let's see, I've got about 10 people now, and I'm looking for about another 15, maybe 20 that would be interested in doing this. The course itself, when it comes out, is going to be $247, and as a beta tester, I do want you to have some skin in the game, because I found that when you have a vested interest, you're more likely to complete the course. Now, if you can't make a Zoom meeting, that's okay. But the idea is that I will be there to help you answer your questions, and if there's anything you need clarity on, I'm there to help. So, and we'll do that for about an hour a week, and then so your cost for a beta tester is going to be $47, and that's a one-time fee, and there's nothing else. And as the course gets modified, as long as the course is available and I leave the course up, you're going to have access to all the materials and all of the handouts, all of the quizzes, and everything that goes along with it. And it will be a tool that you can refer back to as necessary, as you need. And then again, and as always, if you have questions, just drop me a note and say, hey, Rick, I was going back through the course and I saw this and I didn't catch it the first time. Help me with this. And so I'm here to answer those questions for you also. So anyway, that's the lowdown on the announcement last week. And if any of you that are here this week that weren't here last week are interested in becoming beta testers, I haven't announced it to anybody other than on my Facebook Live and YouTube Live. And so if for the most part, if you're not watching live, you probably missed that part of it. So I will be announcing it to the rest of my email address later this week, or my email list later this week, and to my meetup group later this week. And so those spots should be filling up probably by the first of next week. So if you are interested, let me know, and we'll get you signed up. And as soon as I get the shopping cart open, I'll let you know, and then you'll have another couple of weeks, 3 weeks to sign up and get logged in, and then hopefully by the 1st of June I will have the course available, and I'll let you know, and the 25 of us or 30 of us will go through it and start working, and it'll take us about 5 weeks. I don't want to push anybody too quickly. You can go through as quickly as you want. But I will go through, about one module a week, because as I said, there's 5, and we'll go through those and one by one and answer your questions and go from there. So if you guys have any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will we'll wrap it up for tonight, and I will see you all next. So we'll wait just a couple of minutes, but I'll be back again next Monday, and for Monday Mastery live at 6. It just doesn't rhyme. It just doesn't sound right to say. It used to be live at 5, but now it's 6. Trying to make it more accessible to more people. Addie, thank you. It was great to have you here. Have a great week yourself. And I guess with that, I will. Teresa says, what is next Monday's talk about? I don't know. I generally don't know until the weekend. But if you have a subject that you'd like me to address, Teresa, please shoot me. Yes, absolutely. You can suggest. And if you have a particular topic, David from last week gave me a great topic on narcissism. I just need to do a little more research on that subject before I feel comfortable addressing it. But we'll be doing a topic here in the very near future on narcissistic relationships. And so, but yes, by all means, if you have something that you'd like to share, shoot me a message or an email or a text, and I would be happy to consider it. And if you've got a good one, Teresa, it might even be next week. So make it easy for me. Then I don't have to decide. You can ask the question. So anyway, folks, I hope you have a great and blessed week. Thank you for all joining in. Thank you for your comments and questions and thoughts. You guys are the ones that make Monday Mastery and make it easy for me. So anyway, have a great and blessed week, and I'll see you all next Monday at 6, and I'll probably be still in this same cave. Anyway, have a great week, everyone. I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in.